Let's welcome our guest, Mr. Gary Griffith is on with us. Good morning, Mr. Griffith.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Welcome. All right, first of all, you attempted to have a conversation with the Prime Minister about dealing with crime, yourself and the opposition leader. It did not bear fruit. Give us your response.
Well, it is unfortunate, but what it has shown to each and every citizen of this country that Keith Rowley prefers that, and he has no issue that that the country could actually drown in blood than for him to humble himself and to swallow his pride. And that says a lot about lack of leadership. Because if it is that you could put your ego, your arrogance, your hatred, your bitterness, because someone may be politically opposed to you, and you prefer that would take precedence over doing what is right for the country, this has now exposed to the country what the kind of character that Keith Rowley is. That is not the person you need to lead a country. A leader of a country must unite a country, must bring a country together. And that is the reason why I returned to politics, to do just that. The country has been divided so bitterly between race, between geographical locations, even Trinidad and Tobago. They have done so much to divide this country, politicians. My job is to come back and to unite the country. A country that is united would work better in every aspect. His actions, it has been really childish, because even his justification, when he said, I have good reason not to meet with Gary Griffith, that Keith Rowley is a cop-out. If it is that there was a poll and 91% of the country said that they would want you to meet with me, it means that you have disregarded the people who you serve. You have disregarded the citizens, the voice of the people being the voice of God. You have ignored that. And the audacity is you're not even given a reason to say that you have good grounds. Don't say you have good grounds, because he keeps using the word that he's the chair of the National Security Council. Let me clarify. That holds no substance. It holds no authority. The National Security Council is a subcommittee of cabinet, so they have no authority in law enforcement. So he keeps using this as if he has some big set of information. You don't. You don't have anything at all. And that is why, by stating that I have good grounds not to meet with Gary Griffith, tell us why. And don't hide in Parliament like a coward, like what you did with Emailgate. Say outside, I do not want to meet with Gary Griffith because ABC XYZ. You have not done so, even though the country has demanded that you do. And when you have a leader like that, it is time for that leader to be removed.
All right. Okay. Just the whole question of home invasions are it's on the rise. Give us what your suggestion and what could be done to stem the tide of home invasion, Gary Griffith?
Well, again, many people are making different views. The leader of the opposition gave a very eye-opening recommendation about stand your ground. And unfortunately, Keith Rowley, again, in a petty way, tried to bring this, diminish the thought of this by, again, and it gives the impression that this ruling government seems to be concerned about the rights of criminals rather than the rights of law-abiding citizens. So let me clarify. When this situation of stand your ground, we have a sort of law here that is so outdated, it gives criminals the rights over law-abiding citizens. So if somebody you come home and somebody is raping your wife, you have to make sure you control your aggression to stop him from continuing that act, or somebody kidnapping your child. You have to control your aggression, that it must be equal force to what he is using. Recently, there was somebody I knew somebody in her home stole items and was leaving. She held the person, they struggled, and now she's being charged for assault. That is what Keith Rowley has a concern with. So by using this stupid narrative of if someone steals a mango, it gives you the right to shoot the person. I know exactly where he's coming from. He wants to go back to the cut and divide and go to and be support. This must be support. It's not about Indo-Trinidadians and Afro-Trinidadians. This is about good versus evil. This is about law-abiding citizens versus criminal elements. If a criminal enters your home, you by right, and nobody is saying that you have a right to kill them, but you cannot be using equal force. The equal force is what has caused the criminals to have the scales of justice tilted towards their favor. And what we need to do is to amend the law. But every time it comes to something to look after the law-abiding citizens, this government finds a way to stop it. They have spent no time dealing with illegal firearms being prevented from criminals getting it. But they have spent all of their time preventing law-abiding citizens from getting legal firearms. My wife, Nicole Griffith, for 10 years, she has been pushing for pepper spray to be issued. They have refused to issue pepper spray, something as simple as that. So imagine how they would have gotten on with me giving firearms to law-abiding citizens. So it gives the impression that this government tends to favor looking after the rights and the concerns of criminal elements than they do with law-abiding citizens. So as it pertains to home invasion, we need to obviously find factors that would cause the deterrent to take place, that the criminal will know that if I jump the wall, if I come into this house, that there's no longer that equal force, that it gives the homeowner the right to do what is required to protect himself, his family, and his assets.
Okay, and we hear you loud and clear, Mr. Griffith. But recently there was the crime symposium. Of course, leaders from across the region would have been at the Hyatt Regency to be part of the symposium. Your view, was it necessary? Well, of course it's necessary, but are you predicting actions being taken following this crime symposium, Mr. Griffith?
Well, when you have politicians who have absolutely no training whatsoever in law enforcement getting together, you're going to get a talk shop, you're going to get a rum shop talk. And that's why these politicians made very foolish comments about judges are to blame because they allow persons to go on bail. The judges are not to blame. It's because you have ineffective laws that give the judge the opportunity to give the person bail. You change the law. In the same way you could say that terrorism is a capital offense. So if someone is held with an assault rifle, you cannot get bail. You and the politicians have that authority, but you try to blame the judges. So what happened with that symposium? It was nothing more than a talk shop. They all came up with wild, imaginative comments. I mean, the most comical was our government stating that they are going to put a ban on assault rifles when the assault rifles were already banned. And now we hear Stuart Young, as incompetent as he is, having the audacity to try to say, we'll give the definition of an assault rifle. You can't make your own definition to then come up now to change a law. The assault rifle is an automatic weapon. The only persons who have access to that are criminal elements or the persons who protect these same politicians. So you come up with this crime symposium, and your big takeaway from this is to put a law that was already in place, because law-abiding citizens cannot get assault firearms. So what should have happened is having a symposium pertaining to the best minds in law enforcement in the country, because Trinidad and Tobago's concern of crime would be different than St. Lucia or Barbados or Antigua. And that is what Keith Rowley would refuse to do, because some of the persons who might be best versed in dealing with national security are persons external to his political party, which is why he continues to keep the most incompetent Minister of National Security as the Security Minister. And if it is that you do not want to have that type of symposium internally in our country, getting the best minds available to find and come up with solutions, we are going to be exactly where we were, or even worse, last year.
Okay, but of course, with the symposium, that's one aspect. But what came out of that symposium is the whole question of the illegal firearms coming into the Caribbean from the United States. During your tenure, was that a major issue? And your suggestions, because at the end of the day, regardless of the Prime Minister's unwillingness to have the conversation with you, you can still feel free to suggest, and the right persons may or may not receive it, but it's important that we get that perspective from you, Mr. Griffith.
No, definitely. And again, the concern of illegal firearms, obviously, I mean, the police service here, we will seize around 800 odd firearms annually. So after 10 years, we can seize about 8,000. But we lose and listen to what I use, lose and misplace about 10 containers from the ports annually. One container can have 10,000 firearms. So all the firearms seized by the police in 10 years can go back into the system in one night. It shows the importance of us trying to protect our borders through the legitimate ports of entry. I gave the Prime Minister the draft policy to set up a border protection unit. He refused, and it continues to give the impression that he's either incompetent or he's trivializing the importance of our borders, which is causing the biggest problem of crime, the illegal weapons entering the country. So the crime symposium did nothing to try to show how we are doing tactical and strategic systems to prevent illegal weapons entering the country through the legitimate ports of entry. The United States had to embarrass our government by saying, hey, back off. You're accusing us of saying we're not doing enough. We gave you 800 million plus to try to deal with your problems with illegal firearms. What have you done with it? How have you spent that money? And now Keith Rowley will walk like Michael Jackson because he can't give an answer. He wants to blame the US for our incompetence and our negligence by allowing these illegal weapons to enter the country. As the Commissioner of Police, I even acquired scanners, vehicle scanners that can pinpoint and target weapons in containers. They shut it down after I left because of petty politics. So you remove the scanners, you refuse to have the border protection unit, and then you try to blame the United States for their problem because they manufacture the weapons. But they manufacture the same weapons that we purchase for our law enforcement officials. So to blame the United States manufacturers because of our incompetence not to secure our borders, it is like blaming fast food outlets for people getting heart attacks and trying to sue the fast food outlets. You can't blame the source. You have to blame the environment that you are in for refusing to do your job. And that is where my point comes in about a crime symposium. And with that crime symposium, it is a pity that that didn't take place a week later. Because the big question to be asked, one of the biggest crimes that we have seen regionally, is the fact that an RSS plane from CARICOM was used in a criminal act involved in the kidnapping of a Trinidad and Tobago citizen from Trinidad in Barbados, and we use that CARICOM plane. No law enforcement service officer in Trinidad and Tobago has access to get that aircraft. It has to come from a politician. So I am demanding that investigations take place immediately to ascertain if a politician gave clearance for this aircraft from CARICOM to be used by the few rogue elements in the police service who went to Barbados to kidnap a Trinidad and Tobago citizen to bring him back into Trinidad, because that is going to cost the state and the taxpayers over $50 million in damages because of pettiness by politicians in the exuberance to see if they can arrest somebody because of this firearm situation.
All right.
And if any politician was involved, they are involved in aiding and abetting in a criminal offense.
All right, Mr. Griffith, we have a new, I don't want to say new, but this bomb scare in our schools, of course, using the cyberspace to carry out the evil. This was emailed and sent to the varying schools. 20, 50, 60%, 60 schools or thereabout were affected by this cyber criminal or cyber criminal in the cyber area. Your thoughts on that, and what can be done? Technology being used to find this perpetrator. Talk to us from that standpoint.
Yeah, sure. I was just on about 2 or 3 other stations this morning on that same question. A very good question. And again, it shows when it is you have a Minister of National Security not even understanding the Anti-Terrorism Act. This was an act of terrorism.
Yes.
Because and it is under the Anti-Terrorism Act. So you're saying that if this person is ever held, he will be charged under the Anti-Terrorism Act. But she is saying it is not an act of terror. Even as you do not understand the problem, he certainly can't solve the problem. But what he does, he continues to trivialize any matter because of his inability to explain the matter and how he intends to rectify the situation. And that is why he tried to downplay it by saying it's a miscreant. It is not. This was a well-orchestrated plan to get the numbers and the contacts of all of these schools and to be able to do this in such a way to ensure that you will not be apprehended. So whether this was based on someone testing our systems, whether it was someone just being mischievous, whether it was based on people trying to destabilize the country, you can't trivialize it and just say it's a miscreant and ignore it and then try to say it is not an act of terror. It is an act of terror by a Minister of National Security not understanding the meaning of terrorism. Terrorism is not just the person igniting that explosive or firing those shots. It also involves someone who deliberately tries to instill fear within a population, and that is what this was. This is why it was a crime under the Anti-Terrorism Act. What could happen and should have happened is that we had systems to prepare for this. In the Commission of Inquiry into the attempted coup, the prime system that they asked and demanded was the establishment of the National Operations Center. This was done in 2010 and 2015 as directed by the Commission of Inquiry to ensure that we can have proper communication, collaboration, and coordination, not just between different arms of the protective services, but also to ensure that the public could be aware of what is happening. They also demanded that we have a national security alert state and to also have an operational command center. All of these things were shut down and dismantled, so it meant that we were again playing catch-up. One hand didn't know what the other was doing, and therein lies the problem. When you play politics with national security, you shut down and dismantle things because the administration...
All right, so Mr. Griffith, we have we have the cyber crime unit in the police service. Under your stewardship, what would have happened in this instance, given that this attack, should we say, and of course, act of terrorism? What would be your approach, and what should we do now to find this perpetrator?
All right, well, as I said, because I have reignited active that National Operation Center, we had the Operational Command Center, we had the National Alert Team. All of these things would have assisted, but all of these things were shut down after I left. And if you recall, anytime it is that people had prank calls, you will see the meme a few moments later when kidnappings took place. Within a few hours, we will arrest the kidnappers. If there was a home invasion, within minutes, the police would be there. Because we had the technology, we had the systems, we had the people, we had the operational policies to ensure a rapid response to monitor what was happening. It was known as predictive policing. That is why under my watch, kidnappings had stopped, home invasions had stopped, because we had the technology and the systems and the operational plans to put it into effect, to provide the deterrent, and if the deterrent did not take place, to ensure immediate apprehension. All of these things, as I said, have been shut down and dismantled. So it is going to make it very difficult. It's not as simple as just saying, well, we have the cybercrime, we need to look at it. It is not as easy as that. There's certain types of technology that we use to ensure how we were able to pinpoint kidnappers at certain places when they still are the victims. Somebody, as well as they jump on wall in a home, within a few minutes we'll be able to know if individuals will head in to put a hit on a prison officer, we'll intercept that vehicle. All of these things play a part towards us having been able to get better access to pinpoint the perpetrators of this act. But it is all going to be very difficult. And to just say, well, we have a cybercrime unit. That is old-time policing. All of these systems that I spoke about would have played a part towards proper coordination to pinpoint the perpetrator. But because of that, it may make it very difficult to find out who the individual is. Because petty politics played a part in dismantling all of the things that would have been there under my watch.
When removing the politics summit, Mr. Griffith, recently the new commissioner of police would have handed over the violent crime reduction plan to the national security minister, and it spoke to anti-crime initiatives, talking about dismantling criminal gangs, seizing illegal firearms, eradication of drug blocks, and so on. This plan, I'm not sure if you would have been privy to see it, of course, but just from the periphery, is it the right direction, looking at what is presented to the National Security Minister?
Yes, I saw the plan. So let me explain. That is known as ComStat, the computerized statistics. We have that meeting every week for the last 10 years. And every week that is a template that is done to show us where we are and what stats and data we need to get where we want to be. It does nothing. So in other words, if it was a manifesto, many people, the person who drafted this will win an election. This is not an election. Telling the country where we are and what we intend to and where we intend to be does not solve the problem. The citizens, have you ever heard anywhere in any developed country, police officers or chief of police saying, well, we have a crime plan? To start with, a crime plan is a plan to commit crime. But you don't come with an anti-crime plan. What you do is put proper policies in place to provide the deterrence, and by doing that, and then using predictive policing. So by saying, this is the data where we are, this is the percentage we want to reduce crime by, that serves no purpose. Where are the tactical, the operational, the strategic policies to implement to ensure you can come to that? That is what is required. And obviously, you will not want to tell the public those things, but telling the public the data that we have and where we intend to go, that serves no purpose. It is cosmetic. The country doesn't want to see that. Nowhere in the world country wants to hear that. They want to see the results.
All right.
And the result is what counts.
All right. Mr. Griffith, we want to thank you very much for being with us this morning. And of course, all the best to you. With the passion of fighting crime is certainly, you do have that. And we wish that all could come together to put things in place to better our safety or to ensure our safety. Thank you for being with us, sir.
My pleasure.